life isn't fair. But some people are born into great families, some aren't. Some people have money, some don't. Some people grow up with opportunities all around them and some have to fight every opportunity just to get it. And that's the reality. And I think sometimes people, when we hear this conversation about responsibility, they think the person's talking about ignoring all of it. I'm not. Your circumstances matter. They absolutely matter. Your environment matters. Your upbringing matters. The people around you matter. The opportunities you have available also matter. Pretending otherwise is just dishonest. But I think that's where people get confused, because the difference between your circumstances and your responsibilities are extremely important. Your circumstances are things that you can't change immediately, right? Circumstances are things you can't immediately control. Your responsibilities are the things that you can. If you spend your entire life focusing on your circumstances while neglecting your responsibility, your life will never improve. Because the circumstances are often where you start, but not necessarily where you have to finish. And that means, what I mean by that is, like, when I talk about agency, I believe your circumstances don't make you. I believe your response to your circumstances make you. Now, before somebody gets upset, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying everybody starts at the same place. I feel like I've already said that already. I'm not saying that like hard work automatically guarantees success. And I'm not saying that that's some perfectly fair system where everybody gets exactly what they deserve plays out. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, that's obviously not true. I am saying that eventually every person reaches a point where they have to decide how they're going to respond to their situation. Because while you may not be responsible for what happened to you, you are responsible for what you do next. And that's a very hard truth. But I think it's an empowering truth. Like, if your future is determined entirely by your circumstances, then you're powerless. If your future is determined, at least partially, by your choices, like, you have some agency, you have influence, you have options. Maybe not unlimited options, but like you have some, and some is enough. So let's talk about responsibility. When I think about responsibility, I think about four areas, mainly your health, your finances, your mental state, and your spiritual life. Some people have a genetic advantages, some don't. Some people have injuries, born illnesses, freaking physical limitations, and that's very real. But regardless of where you start, taking care of your body is still your responsibility. Maybe you can't become a professional athlete, sure. Maybe, sure. But if you're able-bodied, you can at least walk more. You can eat a little bit better, healthier. You can sleep more consistently. You can exercise at least 3 times a week. And those things are still things in your control. It's the same thing with finances, right? Some people inherit debt. Some people inherit wealth. Some people have a head start. Some people are 10 steps behind. But the reality is, budgeting is your responsibility. Spending your money wisely is your responsibility. Saving money is your responsibility. Learning financial literacy is your responsibility. And if you haven't know what that is, you better look it up on YouTube. Like, you can make small financial decisions every day that seem harmless. Coffee, fast food, whatever it is, right? Subscriptions. Nothing major, and nothing that feels significant at the time, but 6 months later, you'll be wondering where all your money is going. Then you check your bank statement, and you realize it's disappearing into a lot of conveniences and pleasures. Okay, and that should be a wake-up call to you, right? And a lot of people don't even realize it's happening. Right now, look, I'm currently in a tight financial situation, and when money gets tight, I'm going to complain. I'll be honest about it. But while I'm complaining, I'm still going to budget. I'm still going to make the smartest decision I can make, because complaining doesn't remove responsibility, and responsibility doesn't disappear because of my circumstances are difficult. The same thing applies mentally and emotionally, right? Life can be frustrating, people can hurt you, you can experience failure, loss, disappointment, and those things happen. But I try not to let my emotions completely take over, because when emotions completely take over, that's when I make stupid decisions, right? Even now, I even got to quit my jobs, but I failed my CompTIA test for the second time, and I want to punch a tree really hard till my knuckles bleed. I want to yell really loud in a public area and be crazy. I want to cry and act like some homeless person. Like, I want to just express everything and make myself look like a fool, because I don't even know how to deal with that on an emotional level, right? I want to spend my money recklessly. I want to make permanent decisions based off of temporary feelings. And that's where my life could get worse. And I want to acknowledge that your emotions matter, but your emotions shouldn't always be in charge. Now, let's get practical, right? Because whenever I talk about responsibility, somebody hears just work harder. And that's not what I'm saying. Responsibility is not pretending your problems don't exist. It's looking at your problems honestly and asking one simple question: is what can I control right now? Not in a year, not in 10 years, not when life becomes fair, just right now, like today. Like, what can I control today? Because this is where your agency starts. A lot of people spend their time fighting battles they can't win. They're angry because of the economy. They're angry because of politics. They're angry because something that's happened years ago. They're angry because what people think about them. And it's justified, but none of those things are directly under their control. So all of their energy is wasted. Like, meanwhile, there are things that they can control, whether they vote, sleep, health, habits, attitude, whatever it is, right? And it's the small things that change your life. People think obviously there's massive decisions that affect your overall life, but a lot of that stuff is small decisions that were repeated constantly that equal the results today. The decision to wake up early, the decision to go for a walk, the decision to stop to read instead of scrolling, the decision to save money, the decision to show up when you don't feel like it. Those decisions don't feel important in the moment, and that's why people overlook them. But over time, they become habits, and habits eventually become character, and character becomes your life. And that's why I talk about discipline so much, because discipline isn't just about being motivated, it's about uh, continuing on when things get tough. It's continuing on when you don't feel like it. I already said that, but motivation comes and goes, and discipline is. Anyway, I already said that. I already read that. Right? I complain a lot. Like, seriously. Like, if work is hard, I complain. If life is stressful, I complain. If money is tight, I complain. Right? But while I'm complaining, I'm still moving forward. Right? I don't quit. And that's something I'm working on currently, like not complaining. I made a video I made a video about that a couple days ago. I want to say a year ago, but anyway, responsibility is about what needs to get done regardless of how you feel. And I think that's where people get stuck. I think that's where people need to feel motivated before they act. I think people need to feel they need to be confident before they start. I think they need to feel certain before they move forward. But most growth happens when those feelings show up. Sometimes action comes first, then confidence follows. Sometimes discipline comes first, then motivation follows. Sometimes you have to move one step, one decision, one habit, one day at a time, because eventually those small actions will compound. And one day you're going to look back and realize that you're no longer the same person you used to be, but not because your circumstances magically changed, but because your habits changed, your mindset changed, your response to your circumstances changed. And that's why I say that you are not your circumstances. You are the response to your circumstances. Two people can go through the same thing and end up in two completely different places. One person can become bitter, one person becomes stronger. One person quits, one person adapts, one person accepts defeat, and the other decides they're not finished yet. The circumstance was the same, but the response was different. And the response is where the responsibility lives. Life isn't fair. It's never has been. And some people always will have an advantage that you don't. And some people are going to have opportunities that you don't. But you still have choices to make. You still have habits to build. And you still have actions to take care of on a regular basis. And while you may not be responsible for where you started, you are responsible for where you choose to go from here. Your circumstances influence your life, but your decisions direct it. That's the difference between responsibility and circumstance. If you guys enjoy the video, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody who needs to hear it. I appreciate you all. Adios.